am honored to be able to introduce our speakers, Christina Davies and Dario Davies. Christina is a principal and partner of Cornerstone Development Group. She has extensive background in real estate that includes procuring, capitalizing, developing, and leasing commercial real estate. And she, when I was talking to her about her career, I mean, she has developed just, sounds like hundreds, if not thousands of properties. But prior to being part of Cornerstone, she served as director of retail real estate services at Madison Marquette, where she was involved in the strategy, leasing, and execution of the 1.2 million square foot development down at the District's Wharf, which, as you all know, it's a $2 billion project. And it's one of the world-class waterfront projects in DC. I'm sure many of you have had the opportunity to be down there. And then Dario Davies is a architect, and he's part of Form Design, and they obviously they work together. And he's been involved in every aspect of commercial design for the past 30 years and winning numerous awards, and has his BA in architecture from Virginia Tech and an MBA from Georgetown. So with that said, I'm gonna let Christina and Dario drive this. I think I have the settings correct that you can share or I can post.
Yeah.
The presentation.
You could control that. That'd be great.
You just tell them next slide. We'll tell you next slide.
Okay.
Right.
Here we go. Let me.
So Stephen, I just want to, first of all, thank you, Stephen, for inviting me to be part of the presentation this morning. And hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. Hopefully we'll get to meet each other in person soon. We definitely miss that a lot. So again, thank you so much for your time this morning. You know, Steve and I and Dario had a chance to speak before the holidays, and Stephen wanted to partner up with Cornerstone and Form Design to see if we can help, you know, brokers help their clients finalize deals. Should the client need help with, you know, laying out their office or their retail space. And I think from our experience and through the years, we've helped a lot of clients cut costs, time, and a really big headache. So I think this would be hopefully useful to everyone. So I'm Christina Davies. My background, as Stephen mentioned, I worked for 2 international companies for close to 20 years, while also running Cornerstone as well. And I had the opportunity to work with large national firms throughout the country, expanding them in different states, and also in the DMV. And then also had the opportunity to work in many wonderful developments and shopping centers around the country as well. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And so I've been in. I'm an architect by profession. As Stephen said, I got an MBA from Georgetown because after being an architect about 10 years, I got very interested in real estate development. So I went and got a MBA at Georgetown, concentrated in real estate. And then I went and worked for a developer for 5 years to really understand the business. A local family here that were involved in a lot of commercial real estate in the DMV. Then sort of went out on my own, created the design firm, but also became a general contractor too. So we did a lot of design build work. We had a construction company for 25 years. And then we started doing development work, and the development work, basically we buy a property and we take it through the entire process: entitlement, design, permitting, construction, and then marketing and leasing. It's sort of where we are today with Cornerstone. We kind of do it all and have that experience. So what's nice about having us on your team you've got somebody that understands the design process, which is really, in if you're developing something new out of the ground, you get through the entitlement process. Somebody understands the financial aspects. Excuse me. Okay. Somebody understands the financial aspects of how you get a development project built. Somebody can take you through that process. Understands construction, so that if you have a client that's a tenant, let's say it's a restaurant, we can go in and when we do a site analysis, we can do a test fit to determine whether the space they're looking at large enough for what we want to do and can handle all the elements of something like a restaurant, which is very MEP intensive and has special requirements: gas, higher electrical requirements, venting, so forth.
Hey, Dario, some of the deals that we see are going to be ones where it's an independent restaurant owner, maybe moving or opening a second location. They don't have a franchise behind them to say, this is what it needs to look like. So what's the best way for an agent to be able to approach or discuss that, with their client, what that process is in order to be able to evaluate if a space could be repurposed for what this restaurant owner or this other owner wants to do with the space?
And so what happens is when they start going through their search for locations, obviously, location is the most important thing in real estate. So they want to be well located where, public has access to them. But you have to look at the space to see first, is it sized big enough to handle what they want to do? Do they want to be a 1,000 square foot restaurant? Do they want to be a 2,500 square foot restaurant? Do they want to be a 5,000 square foot restaurant? And then what really is important is that you have someone on board that can go in there and analyze the mechanical, electrical, plumbing aspects of the building. Restaurants need venting, so that's the first thing, especially when you get down in downtown DC. How do you vent something in a mixed-use building? Is there a shaft available? Is the shaft big enough so that you can basically vent the hood? Power requirements are always about double for restaurants. So the important element is to have somebody on board very early on that can do the site analysis and test fit to make sure that the space you're looking at is actually going to work.
So how much time should we recommend that a tenant, when we're negotiating an LOI, has in order to do a test fit before committing to a lease?
Test fit can be done in a 2-week time frame. So, and if it push comes to shove, we'll probably get one done in a week. And I think when we do our design proposals, what I like to do with the client, because they have a budget, is to give them a full design proposal, but it's broken down in phases. Phase 1 would be site analysis, test fit. Phase 2 would be schematic design. Phase 3, construction documents. Phase 4, permitting, and then finally construction administration. That way, the client can see, okay, let's do the test fit first, and see if the particular space we're looking at works for me. And if it does, then and what the test fit is it's really we get the LOD from the landlord, and then we basically physically measure to make sure the LOD is correct, because a lot of times it's not. And then the test fit for let's say a restaurant actually has all the components, i.e. in the kitchen, every piece of equipment, And then in the dining area, seating, a bar, how the bar fits in, bathrooms, and all the support facilities that are needed. So and that takes a firm that has a lot of experience with restaurants, say, or daycare, or whatever the use is. Of course, we have that. We specialize. We've been designing and building restaurants and restaurant chains, daycare centers for years. So we can understand the nuances of making sure something like that fits.
Fantastic.
So this, I mean, what you see on the screen is just a more detailed description of what we do in each phase of what I say is the design process. What's interesting, so the design process is part of what we call the entitlement process, because there's the very beginning, which is sort of feasibility study. Because we have the development experience, we can do, as you were talking about earlier, we can do those financial analysis models, where we can do a cost pro forma, and then an operating pro forma that will give you an IRR, cash on cash yield, and then a cap rate analysis for any particular project. We do that in the feasibility study. And usually if it's an out of the ground building, then that's when we start developing, even for an out of ground building, a test fit to make sure that, we understand what the FAR is on a particular site, and what's the highest and best use for that particular property. So we can go through all that. We do that in the feasibility analysis. And then once the client knows, hey, this is going to work, then we get into what we call the design aspect of the entitlement process. Take them all the way through. We usually do the MEP portion through us, especially if it's a restaurant or a daycare center, something like that, where it's so interactive. I mean, daycare, if you think about daycare centers, the number of bathrooms that you have and the HVAC requirements are so particular that it makes more sense for the architectural MEP to be through one contract, so it's better coordinated. And in particular, a restaurant, there's no other way to do it really, because a restaurant, when you think about it, it's a dichotomy of spaces. You have this dining area where light, finishes, the ambiance is what you're trying to reinforce of the dining experience. Then you go back to the kitchen and it's like a factory, tolerances to within 1/8 of an inch. So then we do that, and then we take, we'll take people through the permitting process, which is becoming very onerous now. It's gotten to the point where it was so tough getting something permitted in the district that they came up with a solution. It's called the Velocity Program. And the Velocity Program costs you a lot of money. It's anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000, depending on the size of the project. But once you get through all the pre-screening, you can get your permit within a week. So, the normal process now, I mean, you're looking at 2 to 3 months. So you need somebody that understands the whole permitting process to get you through that, as quickly as possible, because time is of the essence in any development project.
So I also, I'm a believer that when you're selling land, commercial land, and it's undeveloped, and you say, hey, you can build a 20,000 square foot building on this property, that you go beyond that and actually get a study done by a firm like yours that you can provide to buyers and say, just don't take my word for it. Like, here's the study that says you can do it. And so you should buy this property versus the next property where the guy didn't do that. I mean, can clients hire you to do that type of work too?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, one of your clients has hired us.
Okay. Okay, oh, that's right. I know that. How's that for a softball question?
The
Hey,
Tulsa Leaders Project, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what we
Yeah.
did for them. They wanted to do a daycare center, but they had this wonderful idea of, hey, can we do medical offices or offices above? And so what we did was we went through the analysis and said, okay, here's the maximum FAR you can do. And we actually got a 20,000 square foot building on that site, 2
Yeah.
stories. So,
And
and
he
that,
did, yeah, he
that
didn't know that.
maximizes the square footage.
Right.
And in fact, we had this sort of proffer come floating in while we were going through the entitlement process at Loudoun County. And I know a lot of land use attorneys, and we got around that too. So that they're very thankful right now that they're using us. So.
Yeah, and I have to, I'll add to that, that a lot of clients that we have helped throughout the years don't have the experience. They don't know how to maximize their property to the highest and best use. So that's where we come in and really help advise them, you know, on the project. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good example. You know, Dr. Ball, I don't know, that he's the client.
Yeah.
And he moved up here from Houston. And so he understood sort of development in Houston. Of course, Houston, there's no zoning. You can build whatever you want to do.
The opposite here, right?
So he comes up here and he's like, what? And so we've been holding his hand and getting him through the process, and he's pretty satisfied.
Boyd, you had a question?
Oops, I think you're on mute.
Boyd?
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Daria. One quick question. What experience you guys have in Maryland?
Oh, we do a lot of work in Maryland.
We've done a lot of banks, a ton of retail and buildings. Yeah.
Yeah. And we, we're very familiar with WSSC, which is a completely different organization.
And next quick question here. I do like small office, and a lot of it is medical, and sometimes medical. They are, small independent private practices, and they're short on money. Do you guys let them a la carte your services? In other words, they've got a contractor lined up, and maybe they just need help with the actual design and maybe the permitting part. Do you guys segregate your offerings to clients?
We do, sure. And there's a lot of people that, are budget conscious, so we need to sort of feed them piecemeal. They want to make, they want to go in and make sure that what they're thinking about, it really works. Mm-hmm. And we work with a lot of contractors too. We do a lot of construction administration.
Right.
And, what we advise our clients to get the contractor on board as soon as possible. Because obviously, the contractor has, experience in value engineering. He's plugged into the local market. He knows where to get the tile the cheapest, and things like that. So we like to integrate that very early on because it's value engineering for the client. So,
well, and one other thing is that Dario does have a background in construction as well. So he's definitely pretty dangerous in terms of of what he can advise. He ran a construction firm for 20 years. So he's got a good sense of cost.
We spelled restaurants wrong.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay.
Whoops, a typo.
Okay, I'm gonna talk to somebody. Sorry.
So we talked about daycares and pubs. Any special issues around warehouse? Because we're seeing, more last mile industrial development. And are those any? You mentioned like issues around daycares having, special bathroom and ventilation requirements. Anything
Right.
you're seeing in industrial and warehouse?
Well, warehouses are probably the most critical thing about a warehouse is that you just have to make sure that, you have an 18-wheeler turning radius to get to it, to your loading docks. And then the other thing that's, in particular in this market is what I call stormwater management. Sometimes that's a lot of surface area. And so that surprises some people on the size of the stormwater management facility that they have to create. Usually it's subterranean, it's underground. Unless you're, if you're developing in a park, like we did a warehouse in Dulles Trade Center West. They had a central stormwater management pond, but you still had to pipe yourself, had to pipe everything to it. So I would say that the warehouse in terms of the structure, height is important. But usually, the cheapest ones you can get are all pre-engineered. So we had to work closely with some pre-engineered metal building manufacturers to make the facility work, and then we would design a mezzanine above the office space so that you were utilizing the square footage effectively.
Fantastic. All right, so I know you had some examples in here. Blue Jacket Brewery.
Right. This was the old warehouse, which is down in the Navy Yard, where they used to manufacture boilers for ships. So it was a great old structure. Had from the central skylight was about 38 feet up. So we created basically a gravity-fed brewing system and the restaurant and kitchen for this restaurant called Blue Jacket. Blue Jacket was the name of the Navy plebes. They call them Blue Jackets, so they named the restaurant after that. It's been very successful. It was a lot of fun. It was great to design a restaurant in such a beautiful old building.
It's an award-winning project.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the Brixton. This is a very, very popular bar restaurant. This is on U Street. This is a block away from the 930 Club, so they do very, very well. What we did on this one was a challenge because we combined 4 townhouses together to make the restaurant facility, and it's obviously you can see what it looks like. It's got the underpinnings of a British pub, and it has a roof deck with 2 bars, and they were doing very, very well until the pandemic, and now they're closed. Now they can reopen. So this is another bar on U Street. We do a lot of bars and restaurants. This is actually a bar restaurant called Elements, which is actually under construction right now. They're hoping to open around July. So they sort of hit it right in terms of timing with the pandemic. And this is really interesting because it's 4 levels. There's a speakeasy, 2 other levels, and then a rooftop. And each one basically is designed around elements, water, earth, fire, and wind. So we try to pick up the theme and color and materials, as you can see.
One thing about that project is that the landlord, the owner of the building, and actually the tenant hired a form design to design the building and the interior concept. So that was a great project to work on.
And right now, they also hire us. We're doing construction administration to make sure the contractor is building it so that it does turn out to look like we want it to look like. Go ahead.
So is
So this is a mixed use project that we did, 1737 Connecticut Avenue. We actually, Cornerstone actually owns this building. Well, we bought the building. It used to be the old Anna Maria restaurant. I don't know if any of you all remember that. And we converted it into a mixed use. We maximized the FAR. We did 4 luxury condos, which we've sold, but we retained the retail space, which has the bar called the Boardroom, where you can go there and play your board games, and it's a bar. And of course, they have a tavern license, so they've been shuttered for the pandemic too. But it was a very successful project. We got our market price. I think we ended up selling the condos at an average of about $850 a square foot. So it's very well located. This is
Right in
2
DuPont.
blocks north of DuPont Circle.
Yep, I've been there. It's a pre-pandemic, beautiful space.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This shows a building. Now, we didn't design the building, but what we did was we did an interior redesign of the ground floor for a Goddard school. Kind of unique. And we've done 2 of these. We've got another one up in Fairfax City here that we're doing now, where we go in and we renovated the ground floor spaces into a daycare center, basically 10,000 square feet. And this is an interesting thing because it's a real challenge to change the use like this in an office building. This one was built recently enough where we didn't have a lot of code issues. The one over in Fairfax City, we have some code issues, and we actually have to sprinkle that building. This building was already sprinkled. But those are the elements. The only way Goddard could have ever gotten this thing done was having somebody like us take them through the design process, and to make sure that the test fit worked. They did a test fit on their own, and when we came in and did the code analysis, we said that's not going to work. Not going to work. So we had to redo the test fit, and actually we flipped the whole floor plan to make it more workable. This will open, I think, in about a month.
And I just, the pandemic is changing so many property uses.
Yes.
Right. That's really what, as commercial real estate professionals, we need to be thinking about is how can this space be repurposed?
Right.
And because, if it worked pre-pandemic, it may not work post-pandemic.
Right.
Exactly. Sure. This is just another example of daycare centers that we do. We've done about 5 different Chesterbrook academies throughout Northern Virginia. We actually came up with this prototype type design for them. And what's interesting about this design is that it looks like, they like the residential component, and they want the mothers who drive up, drop their kids off to feel like it's homey. But what's interesting about this, and you can't see it, is that that's actually a mansard roof, and in the center of this is a flat roof. And we did that because the previous design they had a big sort of like meter room, that HVAC mechanical room that housed all their mechanical equipment. And then, so it took up valuable square footage, but then they had to have all the heat pumps out in what was a playground, and then they would have to fence that off, and it was just a mess. By doing the mansard roof, we got to have rooftop units and eliminated all that on the ground floor. It's all up on the roof now, and they just love it. It makes a lot of sense, and it's still a wood frame building, so that the construction costs were not out of line of what their budget was. So it was very successful.
Great idea.
Thank you. Now this is interesting because this one, we're still getting this permitted. And this is in the borough. They have that big movie theater there. Hopefully they'll survive and open up one day. This is on the corner, so it's Greensboro. So the exposure is really, really good. And this is a new concept that evidently came out of California and went overseas first, and is really big in Southeast Asia and the Middle East. And they finally brought it here, and I think they've got one in Florida. And this is the first one in the Northern Virginia area. And what's interesting about this is very high tech. You come in, and you actually, if you see the plan, you go up, and there's a wall there to your right before you get to the counter that actually is a screen, and you order from there, and it basically takes a picture of you. You show your ID, and you can order your meal and your drinks. And then the actual kitchen is actually, you have two robots in the kitchen. One's called Flippy that actually cooks the burgers, and the other one's called Frida, and she does the fries and the chicken McNuggets, everything like that. And so, and then you come around, and then if you notice on the south, it looks like there's a walk-in cooler. That's actually the bar, just a little bit, no, further south. There, yeah. That's actually the bar, and there are like 24, 25 taps that run along there, and you can basically, because it took a picture of you and your ID, you can stand in front of the thing and you automatically can get whatever beer you want. They have mixed drinks. So it's all automated. It's really, really interesting. And so they're under construction now. Actually, they're going to be under construction soon. And I can't wait to go there and eat one of those burgers and just walk through the experience. But it's very,
when they're open, everyone's invited.
How many square feet is this?
it's about 2,700 square feet.
Okay.
And there's actually a mezzanine to it also.
Nice.
Okay, this is an interesting. So this is a local entrepreneur by the name of Mike Cadero. I don't know if any of you know him. He has 12 different restaurants and different concepts. This is a new one that we did the first one for him, the Taco Rock in Roslyn. This is the second one, so it's called Taco Rock 2. This is in the Edens and Avent Center over in Pinecrest, intersection of Braddock Road and 236. And it's an interesting concept. And what he likes to do is he's looking for restaurants that have gone dark. The first one we did for him in Roslyn was an old Spitfire pizza parlor, and then we renovated it into his concept. And this is they serve tacos, and then obviously any kind of margarita you want. And it's obviously successful. He's looking for other locations, and he sees this whole, while he says it's terrible, and he suffered too from the pandemic, but he also sees it as an opportunity that there are a lot of restaurants that closed, and there are a lot of I think a lot of restaurateurs that will survive the pandemic, and then they're going to be looking for those locations. They can get in and renovate, and at half the cost. The kitchen's already there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he should buy our Queen Street property in Old Town.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna present. We're gonna mention that to him. So
Sure.
If you have sites that you want us to present to him, let us know.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point for the team. Not that we just want to overload you with every listing, but that when we partner with firms like yours, you want to help us find someone that that will buy the property, because then they're going to hire you to do everything else.
Right.
And it's very much a good relationship. I know, for instance, when I used to sell a lot of hotels, I would always partner with the people that were selling the various franchises, because they knew everybody. And they wanted to put their client in my hotel, because then they would get the franchise fee and they'd get everything else. Yeah. And so and then for you guys, you can develop the vision so that if someone sees just kind of an older restaurant, you're like, wow, we could do this, this, and this, and it's going to be the next best thing that that could help really bring about a sale.
Sure.
For everybody.
Sure. Absolutely.
So this guy, so we started with him. The first thing we did for him was we did we actually remodeled A-Town in the middle of Arlington to the Bronson. I don't know if you've been to that beer garden, which was very successful. And we kind of worked him into the shtick of having these roll-up doors so we can connect the outside to the inside. And that's been very, very popular for him. And it's done wonders for his restaurant in Arlington. And we did the same thing here.
a really good idea, especially now with the need to have as much fresh air
Right.
Exactly.
as
Right.
possible. And it's, you would automatically think, oh, we're just gonna put windows there, but just rethinking something like that and putting in garage doors instead it's a brilliant idea. We've got about 5 more minutes. Does anybody have any questions for Christina or Dario?
You want to flip through there's yeah, there you go. The last one right there. That's the warehouse.
Okay.
Yeah, we did this warehouse in
Sterling, right?
well, no,
Ashburn.
this is in Loudoun County. It's in
Yeah.
Dulles Trade Center West. So they were very particular about the facade, and we originally did it in the colors in the blue and yellow for which are the colors of the company Arrow, and they made us mute it down a little bit. So we were a little bit more earth tones, but we try to do something different to make it very, very unique. And it's actually built and it's up, and it's pretty unique. It really is.
Looks
So,
really nice.
yeah.
And I know right now warehouse industrial is very big and hot. So this is something that we can definitely design and build for your clients.
Fantastic.
Sorry. So questions?
Anybody have any other questions? It's been very, very informative. I know, we're going to be building out different, practice groups, including, our retail practice group. And so this is, and Steve Yeager will be an important part of that, leading that group. So I know we're going to be in communication with you about that, as well as on the industrial side. Even myself have multiple industrial properties that I know that you're going to be able to benefit from. So looking forward to working with you on those.
Yeah, I mean, just in case you are involved in any, we were the mall architects for Tyson's Corner years ago and for Wheaton Plaza. So we have a lot of mall experience too. So we can help you.
And airport.
And airports, yeah.
Yeah,
we do a lot of airport work.
Preferred designer for airports as well. The 3 major ones in the area.
Right.
So.
Very nice. All right. Any other questions? Are we good? All right. So I will circulate your contact information to everyone on the team, and then we'll go from there. And I'm sure you'll be hearing from our agents. And we really look forward to partnering with you on multiple transactions.
Great.
We look forward to it. Yep. And
Thank
please
you for
feel free
your time,
to
guys.
reach out to us with just questions. If you have any questions, reach out to us and we'll help you.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time to present to us today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.